Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV now on YouTube. This is the top story segment where every day on Good Morning India, I give you 5 stories to vote upon. The stories most voted upon by you is something we discuss in detail on YouTube. Let's look at the top 5 stories for the day. Now, stubble burning by farmers, Defy, Supreme Court ban. That's got 52% vote share. Half of you, more than half of you wanted to know more about the stubble burning and how farmers are defying that. There is another one which has got the most votes, and that's Delhi police versus the lawyers. The protest is over, but the story is still alive. Now has moved on from the streets of the national capital to the courts. Apart from that, the toxic air, Devendra Fadnavis and the Maha deadlock, and also the Ghungat issue being raised by the Rajasthan Chief Minister. We'll talk about the story most voted upon, the stubble burning. Now, this morning, Delhi woke up to a bit of a relief. The pollution levels in the national capital went down, but that was of no relief because it's still in the very poor category. The irony of that is that now pollution levels are actually moving up to more hazardous level when it comes to UP. All this is being said is happening because of the farm fires that continue to happen in states like Punjab and Haryana. Remember, on Monday, Supreme Court came with a very clear, strict verdict where they said that farm fires must stop. They fixed up responsibility as well. They said that sarpanches in villages, even SHOs in cities will be personally liable if there are any further farm fires. But what our colleague from Punjab, Ghazali, found out was it was in the rural Punjab areas and villages where the family of the sarpanches also were indulging in farm fires. Then why is it that the trend is going on despite multiple orders by the Supreme Court, despite subsidies being promised by the government? That's something that needs a lot of thinking at this point and is a worrying factor. But what is the current status of the farm fires? Let's get in Divya on that. Divya, you've been reporting that currently the farm fires are at its highest at this point. It's never been this much. This despite Supreme Court fixing responsibility, and today as well they will be looking into the matter.
Well, yes, Sonal, just yesterday the count of farm fires went up to 6,668, which is the highest ever for a day as far as the season is concerned. When we compare the farm fires that we've already seen till the 5th of November, they are close to 37,900. Okay, so 37,935 to be precise. That is about 10,000 more farm fires than last year and more than what they were in 2017. So all that ban, all those restrictions, all those measurements that were taken. Let's just take a look as to that graphic where we can see how the farm fires have increased this time around. This is a comparison graphic where you can see this is 2019 and how this time around the farm fires are more than what they were in 2018. This is the peak, and you can see all through the season you can see it has actually been at par and now even higher. And here these are the farm fires. You can see all these Punjab and Haryana. This is what we are seeing as of the last 24 hours. And in Haryana, in fact, they're saying that the farm fires have decreased because there they have wrapped up the season because the season started earlier this time around. So what we are looking forward to is that hopefully Punjab will also wrap up their season a little earlier than the 15th of November.
So effectively you are saying this is just halfway into the season and the farm fires this time are much more than last year. Yesterday when we spoke about this issue, and this is something that all our viewers are deeply interested in and they keep voting on the story time and again, you said that despite the bans that have been put in, despite the FIRs which have been ordered, all of that is not working out on the ground, and this is just the beginning of the burning season, of the sowing season. That means they have to let go of the parali that they say on ground and then sow it. So this is just the beginning at this point.
Absolutely, this is just the beginning. And if we talk about the intrusion of the farm fires, that the kind of pollution that comes into Delhi from this, I'll just show you that as well. And here we have a graphic which will show you this is the contribution, which went up to 44% on the 31st of October, and then it started to kind of show a downward trend which went down to about 12%. Also because in Haryana those farm fires have decreased, and now you can see the forecast says they're going to increase yet again. So this is the trend that's going to happen now. So there's another increase as far as that intrusion is concerned. For now, like you saw, that decrease, which is why the pollution count this morning has gone down in Delhi to about the 250, which is in the poor category.
These are figures from Suffer, which means this is government's own figure. Absolutely. And they've not been able to control it despite everything that's happening, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So now with this intrusion increasing, that means now from the poor category that we are in this morning is going to again go back into the very poor.
All right. So just to understand this in a bit of more detail about farm fires and their contribution, now this morning Supreme Court is going to take a review meeting, and it has asked all the chief secretaries of all the states which have indulged in farm fires to come back to them with a report. This means that chief secretaries of Punjab, Haryana, UP, even Delhi for that matter, will have to present their report. There are clear penalties, but what have they done about this is what the court is going to discuss. So far the action or the response perhaps we kept hearing from the government was, well, we've done our bit. We've rolled out schemes, we've given subsidized even machinery to the farmers to use as substitute instead of burning. But why do you think farmers keep going back to burning of these crops and they don't use those machines? Why is that happening?
Because there aren't enough machines to begin with. There's a lot of money that's stuck at the government level. They haven't got enough money. They haven't provided enough machines. So, which is why, and they have a very short window before they can get rid of that stubble and start to sow the next crop. So this is the only way they know. And though there is a lot of awareness for that machine, those happy seeding machines, but on the ground, that reality is very different. They haven't really been able to, establish that yet.
Establish that. Thanks, Divya, for that. In fact, our colleague Ghazali, who was in the fields I was telling you earlier, he went on and he reported from the rural villages where he discovered that the sarpanches of the areas who were actually supposed to be the people enforcing the Supreme Court verdict were the ones violating it to begin with. So that's about the farm fires, a grave issue that we're all looking into. The next story that you, the viewer, have voted upon has been the Delhi police versus lawyers, the crucial High Court hearing today. Now, we've been reporting extensively on the unprecedented protests that happened on the streets of the national capital where police was forced to come out and protest. We had a situation where outside the police headquarters where several times slogans like "We want justice" have been heard, but never before by the police personnel. They came out and said that. Now the protests, about 11 to 12 hours that they lasted yesterday, ended in the evening with a candlelight vigil that got support from civil society, that got support from the families of the police officers as well, saying you need to do more. Now the fallout of this protest is what we will see today, because the judiciary now is picking up several cases. The judiciary today will be sitting in to look into PILs, demanding why was action taken only against the cops and not against the lawyers who indulged in violence. Why is it that only police personnel were transferred out and compensation provided only to the lawyers and not the police forces? So finally, the messaging that the police officers wanted out of that protest, what comes out of that will be seen today. Now, on the flip side of this, something else happened. On the flip side, we discovered that an independent lawyer has now given a legal notice to the Delhi Police Commissioner, saying under the rules, police officers are not allowed to protest, which they did. So there should be action against them as well. On one hand, what's happening is that the lawyers, the policemen, in fact, with their protests, managed to bring in a public sentiment saying enough is enough, we are suffering as well and we are scared for our lives. And on the other, you have lawyers even now saying that there needs to be action against the police. So this war between Delhi police versus the lawyers is only escalating. There is now also a statement by Kiran Bedi. Remember Kiran Bedi and posters and banners yesterday, and I was at the Delhi police headquarters where it all unfolded. People said that she was one cop who actually stood by the people, by her forces, and did not buckle down under political pressure. And she has now, after remaining silent for a full day, given out a statement and said that there is a serious leadership crisis in the Delhi police that needs to be addressed. So the story is only unfolding, the protests are over, but there is now a paradigm shift in the Delhi police where they have gone ahead to question their own leadership, question why enough is not being done for their lives. That's it on the Top Stories segment today. We'll catch you again tomorrow on Good Morning India, where we'll throw you 5 top stories and you can tell us what is it that interests you the most.